Well, hello there and welcome back to another edition of Mr. Eric Reads. You're here on a Tuesday, and as you can see, I'm here in my office. That's right, getting ready to welcome you guys back in the next few weeks, and I am very excited about giving you socially appropriate distance fives, air hugs, whatever it takes. But all in all, welcome back to another installment, guys. I'm glad you're here. Tonight's book is very different than what I've read because it is not necessarily in season, if you will. This was a book that Miss Amerson out at Deering Elementary let me borrow around the time of Halloween. And then I forgot to read it, but it's here. And it's Margery Cuyler's The Bumpy Little Pumpkin. And yes, I'm aware that it's summertime. And yes, I'm aware that it's not Halloween. But it's still a good book, and I think you guys will still like it. So, without further ado then, The Bumpy Little Pumpkin, here on Mr. Eric Reads. Little Nell lived with Big Mama, Big Sarah, and Big Lizzie in the great big house in the great big woods. Behind the great big house, there was a great big garden, and in that great big garden, there was a great big pumpkin patch. All summer long, little Nell had helped her family water and weed so that those pumpkins would grow big and orange for Halloween. When Halloween finally came, Big Mama called Little Nell and her sisters into the kitchen. "All right now, it's time for each of you to pick a pumpkin to carve," she said to her in her big, blustery voice. "Me too?" asked Little Nell. "You too," said Big Mama. So Little Nell followed her sisters out to the pumpkin patch. "Huh, there are so many wonderful pumpkins, it's hard to choose," said Big Sarah. She picked up a tall, skinny pumpkin. "I think I like this one," she said. Big Lizzie picked up a round, fat pumpkin. "This one is for me." But Little Nell couldn't decide. She walked back and forth and back and forth and back and forth looking at all the pumpkins. Some were big, some were small, some were crooked, some were tall, but none was just right. At last she came to the end of the patch, and there sat a bumpy little pumpkin all by itself. "This one's my favorite," said Little Nell. "It's a bumpy and a little ugly," said Big Lizzie. It could have a nice smiley face," said Little Nell. "No way," said Big Sarah. "How about this nice smooth one instead?" "I like the little bumpy one," said Little Nell. Big Sarah and Big Lizzie rolled their eyes. "We're taking our pumpkins inside," said Big Sarah. "You keep looking till you find a bigger, better one," said Big Lizzie. "Then we'll help you carve it," added Big Sarah. After they left, Little Nell sat down next to the bumpy little pumpkin. A tiny tear fell down her cheek, then another and another. Her friends, Reindeer, Hare, and Bear, came along. "What's wrong?" asked Bear Cub. Little Nell sniffled and snuffled. "Big Lizzie and Big Sarah think my pumpkin's too bumpy and too little and too ugly to make a good jack-o'-lantern." "I don't think it's too bumpy," said Bear Cub. Or too little, said Reindeer. Or too ugly, said Hare. You don't? Asked Little Nell. No, said the animals. This pumpkin will make a great jack-o'-lantern, said a reindeer, and we can help you carve it. How? Said Little Nell. Like this, said Reindeer, and he lowered his head and he cut around and around and around and around the top until he had carved a lid. Oh, said Little Nell, that's perfect. I can scoop out the insides, said Bear Cub. How? Asked Little Nell. Well, like this, said Bear Cub. He clawed and pawed and pawed and clawed until there was nothing left but an empty pumpkin shell. Oh, goody, said Little Nell. Now for the face, how can we do that? Hey, let's ask the birds for help, said Hare. Little Nell whistled for the birds. Crow, Cardinal, and Sparrow all flew down from the trees. Could you help me make that face, please, for my jack-o'-lantern? Asked Little Nell. What kind of face? Asked Cardinal. With her finger, Little Nell etched and sketched and sketched and etched a face in the dirt. It had triangles for an eye, a square for a nose, and a smiley, lopsided mouth. Like this. So Crow, Cardinal, and Sparrow poked and pecked and pecked and poked until the pumpkin had a face. At last, the jack-o'-lantern was finished. Little Nell smiled a tiny smile. I can't wait to show it to Big Mama, Big Sarah, and Big Lizzie. She picked it up and ran all the way to the house. What a beautiful jack-o'-lantern, said Big Mama. Where did you get it? From our pumpkin patch, said Little Nell. But who helped you carve it then? Asked Big Sarah. My friends Reindeer, Bear Cub, and Hare, said Little Nell. Well, I think it's still a little bumpy and a little ugly, said Big Lizzie. Nonsense, said Big Mama. Jack-o'-lanterns come in all shapes and sizes. The girls placed their jack-o'-lanterns near the door and then Big Mama lit them. Mine's cool, said Big Sarah. Mine's even cooler, said Big Lizzie. They're all wonderful, said Big Mama. Even mine? Asked Little Nell. Even yours, said Big Mama as she leaned over and gave Little Nell a big sloppy kiss. Little Nell smiled. Technically, it says Happy Halloween to end it, but the end. That was, again, Margery Cuyler's The Little Bumpy, or the Bumpy Little Pumpkin here on Mr. Eric Reads. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I'm hoping that our libraries open up soon so that I can continue to read for you guys, as we're almost to 365 consecutive books read here on Mr. Eric Reads. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Please continue to wash your hands, stay safe, and practice kindness in everything you do. See you guys around.